Rev up your engines! Here we have a 2008 Civic. It's shaking. He was driving a car on kind of a bad road, and then when he goes 60 or more, it started shaking. He took it to a Firestone, suppose they did the alignment and stuff. It's still shaking. There's something wrong. Here's how you check it the right way. First, we're gonna jack it up. Now, these old Civics are pretty cool, because as you can see here, there is a cross frame here. See how solid it is there? You can jack it right there. Then you can get both wheels off the ground easily. Something's going wrong here. There's no play here. There's no play there. But I do hear a reasonable amount of slack in the drivetrain. So let's check this side. No slack, no slack. I don't hear the drivetrain noise. You can hear this one? Couldn't hear it on the other side. Look at the drive shaft. Now before I didn't put a jack stand in because I wasn't crawling under the car. Now we'll put in a jack stand. So we'll have to jack it up higher too. Now we can take the wheel off. And off comes the wheel. We'll check inside and we'll listen to this. It's making an awful lot of noise. There's grease coming off the transmission here on the inner shaft, and that's where the noise is coming from. Here, now as you look at the rest, it's dry. There's nothing that's really cracked. With the grease out of that transmission, the shaft that goes into the transmission, that of course has to be perfectly balanced. Once you get to higher speeds, the drive shaft's worn on the inside, you're gonna get a wobble. It's probably what's causing the entire thing. Now, tires were out of balance and it do it too, so let's check that. So we got my handy dandy tire balancer. You can see the bubbles in the middle here. And we'll stick the tire on it. It's pretty much in the middle, so it isn't off balance. Let's check the other side. We'll knock the center on, put it on the machine. And yet again, the bubble's still pretty much in the middle. Now, of course, we have to check everything else here, see if there's anything obviously broken, which in this case there isn't. These are pretty well-made vehicles. There's nothing else that's slanted up, and you can see this side doesn't make a noise like the other one did, so this drive shaft should be okay. But as I'm rolling the tire, what do I see? There is a screw in there, and you can see it's really worn. It's been there a while. If anything's out of balance, it can cause shaking. Let's check the tire pressure. This one's 33 PSI. This one's 33. So that's not it. What a shame, because I've seen him where one tire would have 15, one would have 30. That'll make it shake too. But that's not the case. Now he needs to get this fixed, even though it's not leaking. It hasn't lost air. The screw's obviously going in sideways, but eventually it'll wear down and cause a flat. So he needs to take it to a tire store, have them take it apart and patch the tire. But that's not why it's shaking. Now realize that the rear end affects the front end, so you want to check the back tires too. Okay, this is 34 and a half. It's a pound and a half more than the front ones, but if the other one's 34 and a half, that's okay. Make the rear a little bit higher than the front. And here we go on the right rear. It's 34, that's close enough. So what have we learned today? Well, always do check the obvious things. Tires are out of balance, it's gonna shake. They're worn weird, it's gonna shake. These are pretty new tires, they're not worn. If the front end alignment is off, it'll shake. They said they adjusted the front end, it was okay, and it's still shaking. And the rear tires are okay. In this case, the clue is the front end wobbles, not the back, not just the steering wheel, the whole front end at high speeds. Since the drive shaft, the faster you go, the faster it's spinning. If it's worn, not perfectly true, only off a few thousandths of an inch at higher speeds, it'll make the whole vehicle shake. And since he noticed that that inner CV joint where it goes in the transmission had grease that had come out, that means the grease that lubricates is out. As you're driving, there's no more lubrication. You got metal on metal. It starts to wear. Now, it's not broken yet. A few thousandths of an inch wear, it'll start shaking a little bit, then shaking a little bit more. So, in this case, a new CV axle should fix the whole thing. You have to think holistically when you're messing with shaking of a car. Say you're driving down the road and you hit the brakes and the steering wheel shakes. That means your front brake rotors are warped. But let's say you're going 60 and you hit the brakes and the steering wheel doesn't shake, but the brake pedal vibrates, that means the rear rotors are warped. You just have to understand where the shaking is coming from. He knew the shaking's coming from the front at higher speeds. He knew there was a problem in the front. He did the logical. He had the alignment check, the balance. There was nothing wrong, and the guy said they don't know what's wrong. Well, that's because he went to a Firestone. Not the greatest mechanics in the world. Any good mechanic, like myself, would say, okay, it's not the obvious. Let's delve a little bit further into what the problem is. You can get brand new drive shafts for these things. Very reasonable price, AutoZone, O'Reilly, whatever, with lifetime warranties. Sometimes as little as 80 bucks or something. You can watch my videos and do it yourself or pay a mechanic to do it. But if you can diagnose it yourself, you know what the problem is? Even if you're not going to fix it, you're not going to get ripped off because you say, hey, that went dry, the drive shaft's warped, replace my drive shaft, and you won't have a chance of being ripped off for all kinds of work that you really don't need. They're $52.99 for a new driver's side axle. So he's gonna put it on himself, save a bunch of money, and get rid of that shaking that the guys at Firestone couldn't figure out. Ha! And here's some bonus questions and answers. Kyle Willis says, will buying a hood with scoops cause damage to the electronics if I drive in heavy rain? Well, it depends how big the scoops are and where the water's coming in, but to some extent, yes. Why do you think car hoods are sealed? So rain doesn't get in them. You got a big old scoop and you're going through a monsoon, you're sucking a lot of water in. You could actually destroy the engine. You could suck enough water in to blow the piston rods. The water will hydrolock, the pistons have to go the whole way up, and if half of it's water, it can't go, and so the piston has to do something. So it bends the piston rod and it costs a fortune. So, not a smart idea. You notice they don't drag race during monsoons. It's not a good idea to do it if you're going to be driving through heavy water, if it rains a lot where you are. Just common sense. Plus, the electronics inside are all going to get wet too. JJ's Classics at Scotty, our 2008 Toyota Highlander base model is good. No, they're excellent vehicles. I had a customer with 500,000 miles on that thing. They're well made. You take care of them, they can last a really long time. They're not giving them away. They're expensive as can be, but they're really well made. They sell a lot of them, and they last a long time. Now, as any large SUV up in the air, technically it's a mid-sized one, it's large to me, they get bad gas mileage. It's just the way it is. Now, unless you're willing to get a hybrid Highlander, and then of course when the rear electronic differential goes out, it costs a fortune. You wish you didn't do that. When they're used, new, okay, but buy a used one, yeah, then it's going to cost you thousands and you'll regret buying a hybrid. Gasoline's cheap enough that if you got to spend thousands to replace the electric hybrid drivetrain in the back that runs on the back, you're not going to be happy you bought one. But the regular ones are perfectly fine. Saeed says, Scotty, I got an 05 BMW M6 here, an engine knock. Not sure what's causing it. It's a major problem. Well, it sure is. Make a video of it, put it on YouTube. Send me the link, ScottyKilmer.com, my website where I answer questions. I'll listen to it. If you really have rod knock, it's really serious. You either want to fix it or get rid of that car as fast as you can. Rebuilding a BMW engine is, I've seen people spend $8,000, $10,000 having them done right. So if it really is the rod's knocking, make the video, post it at ScottyKilmer.com. I'll listen to it. But if it really is knocking, you want to get rid of that thing or you're going to spend a fortune rebuilding that engine. Maui says, I got 2016 V6 F-150. It slips in first, but only when driving slow, not when I step on it. Let's pray first gear isn't wearing out. And it may not be, because generally, when first gear is wearing out, when you really floor it, it'll slip the most because it's got the most strain. In your case, if you only accelerate slowly, do this. 1 quart of the automatic transmission fluid out, put 1 quart of Lucas transmission slip fix in, give it 250 miles of driving. I've seen that fix them entirely. It could be there's just corrosion and stuff inside, and that's what's doing it. Because if it was physically wearing out, like I say, when you floor it, it would slip the most because it has the most strain on the engine and the transmission then. So try the Lucas transmission slip fix. I've seen it work marvels on Fords and GMs. Two-ply guy says, should I get an 08 Pilot or an 06 CRV? Depends on the price, the mileage, and what do you want. The CRV is a smaller sized SUV. The 08 Pilot is basically a rig from a pickup truck. It's a bigger vehicle. The Pilot's going to get much worse gas mileage than the CRV, but it's going to have a lot more power. What do you want? You want kind of a trucky thing, or you want more of a small SUV? And of course, it depends on the mileage that's on them and everything. You know, the lower mileage you buy, the better the car is going to last. It's just common sense. I mean, I've seen CRV over here the other day had 468,000 miles on it. Still ran good, right? I mean, you're not going to pay a lot of money for something like that if you buy it used. So if you could find one that's got 100,000 miles, it's going to last a long time if it was taken care of. And the Pilots last too, but they're different vehicles. They get worse gas mileage, bigger engines. You know, you got to decide what you want on that one. I can't make up the decision on what you want to drive. Underground 24 says, Scotty, what do you say is the lifespan of a 1.5 Honda turbo engine? All right, well, here's the thing. Turbo engines will not last as long as normal engines, period, because there's more strain to them. But that said, Honda makes pretty good engines, and I've seen Honda turbo engines that had 250 and they were still running okay. But then again, I've seen Honda non-turbo engines that had 530,000 miles on it. I'd say probably 200,000 or something. Maybe they'll start wearing out instead of 500,000 if you maintain them. You will get a lot less lifespan out of a turbo supercharged engine. That's just the way it goes. More pressure, more strain. And if you do buy a turbo engine, don't listen to any of the crap they give you. You change your oil every 10, 15,000 miles. No. Change your oil every 5,000 miles religiously with full synthetic oil if you got a turbo engine. You want to make sure you keep it whistle clean. It's lubricated by the engine oil. It gets dirty, it'll get destroyed, and they cost a lot of money. The engines are expensive, but so are the turbos. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.